not coming in the new syllabus over there, right? But again, I think it's just a matter of time that they have deleted it. Maybe sooner or later it might come again. Right, so we have the peer review and the quality review, right? So we are talking about the two types of review over there. That is the peer review, and then after that also talking about the quality review. And then after that, what also we need to study today is the internal audit. That's a very brief discussion, hardly 10-minute discussion left over there. Then the chapter on the audit of the PSUs. Then we are left with SA 402, service organization, and the 710 and the 720. Okay, right, so right now, first thing first we study the chapter on the peer review and the quality review. Are you all with me? Okay, right, so peer review. Okay, so the CA firm where the peer review is being conducted is called as the practice unit. Then the person who has come for doing the review is called as the reviewer. And then after that also this entire peer review process is facilitated by the peer review board of the ICAI. Right, so practice unit, reviewer, and the peer review board. Where is the peer review taking place? At the practice unit. The CA form is called as the practice unit. And who is going to conduct the peer review? Right, the reviewer. Who will appoint the reviewer? You have to empanel yourself as a reviewer with the peer review board of the ICAI. Right, and then we'll study the entire peer review process. Quality review is done of an AFUR. What is AFUR? The audit firm under the review. Right, the audit firm under the review. Then the person who comes for doing the quality review is called as the, Arey, don't talk, Ray. The person who comes for doing the quality review is called as the technical reviewer, and this entire process is facilitated by the quality review board of the central government, right? It is facilitated by the quality review board of the central government, and under the quality review board, they have the several quality review groups, right? They have the QRGs, right? So you have the quality review groups, right? You have the quality review groups, right? So AFUR, what you understand by AFUR? The audit firm under the review. Right, so this is one first a basic difference in the terminology between the peer review and the quality review. Right, what is happening in both cases? A qualified chartered accountant with years of experience is coming to your CA firm and he is checking whether you do the audits properly or not. And after he does the peer review, he issues the peer review report to the peer review board, and then the peer review board issues the peer review certificate to the practice unit. After the peer review is completed by the reviewer at the practice unit, he issues the peer review report to the peer review board, and then the peer review board will issue the peer review certificate to the practice unit. Rather, when we had studied 912, what we had seen in clause 9 part 1 of the second schedule, okay, if you want to do the audit of a listed company and you do not have a valid peer review certificate, without having a valid peer review certificate, if you do the audit of a listed entity, you are guilty of professional misconduct under 912. Right, so how I can get the peer review certificate? I have to undergo the peer review process of the ICAI. You understand? You have to undergo the peer review process. Is peer review applicable to all CA firms? Yes, it is applicable, but we have a frequency. Okay, with CA firm from when it is applicable and all, depending upon you have 5 or more partners, 4 or more partners, or 3 or more partners in your CA firm. So we are going to study the applicability. But you know, CA firms, they are doing audits, is it right? CA firms, are they providing the assurance services? Yes, but somebody should go and check, no, okay, whether these chartered accountants, are they doing the assurance services properly or no? Somebody should go and check, no, okay, whether you're doing the audits properly or not. So that is why they say they have established a peer review board. Then under the peer review board, you can empanel yourself as a reviewer, and then this reviewer goes to the practice unit and check whether the work is being properly done by the practice unit or no. Obviously, who decides the fee of the peer review? The peer review board. Who has to bear the fee? The fee has to be borne by the practice unit. Right? It has to be borne by the practice unit. Yes, everybody, do you get an idea? It's so like, One we have, or what you say, DSR review, we have EQCR review. That review is done before the report is issued. The work of one CA being checked by another CA in the same firm. Right? That is before the report is issued. This peer review, quality review is a post-mortem activity. Right? Already you've done the audits in the year 2021, 2022 and 2023. Now in 2024, the reviewer is coming in your firm and checking all the assurance services which you provided in the last 3 years. So what is covered in the scope of peer review? The assurance services provided in the last 3 years. So say you provided 300 assurance services. Out of that they pick up 2 files, sample. They select the sample, and on the sample selected, they check that whether you have been doing the work properly or not. Right? So that is one, the left-hand side of the discussion, which is regarding the peer review. Right? So again, if I come to the ICAI website, right, you see over there the peer review board of the ICAI. Right? And then you have about the board and the powers of the board. Right? What are the objectives of the peer review board? One, to check that the members of the institute, when they are carrying out the assurance service assignments, the members of the institute comply with the TEP. What is TEP? Technical, ethical and the professional standards. Right? So what is the objectives of peer review? Why peer review is conducted? To check that the firm complies with the TEP, technical, ethical and the professional standards. You don't do the work as you wish. You do the work as per the technical standards, the ethical standards and the professional standards, and also there is the quality of your assurance services, right? There should be the quality of the assurance services. What is included in technical, ethical, professional standards, we will discuss. What is not included in assurance services, we will discuss. Right, so what do you mean by TEP? Technical, ethical, professional standards, we will see that. And what is not included in assurance services, we will also see that. Right, so what are the objectives of the peer review? To check whether the members of the institute comply with the technical, professional and the ethical standards as applicable, including the other regulatory requirement, and have in place the proper system, including the documentation to amply demonstrate the quality of the assurance services. So is this the same 2 points I've written over there? Technical, ethical, professional standards and the quality of the assurance services. Okay, right. Then after that, who are the members of the peer review board of the ICAI? Right, so all these people are the members of the peer review board of the ICAI. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right, so they have the 11 members in the peer review board. Right, then knowledge sharing, list of firms having the valid peer review certificate. Right, so out of all the CA firms in India, right, these are the list of the CA firms which are having the valid peer review certificate. Right, so how many names of the firms are there? 3,501. Right, these are the firms which are having the valid peer review certificate. So obviously they all would have undergone the peer review process, right? Then the updates from the peer review board, right? The updates. Then you have the peer review mandate, okay, which all firms are required to get the peer review done, right? You have the peer review mandate, then the effective date of validity, then the application for the peer review. You want a reviewer to come to your firm and do the peer review, right? So you have the application form for the peer review. Right, you have the application form for the peer review, right? So you have the revision and the mandate and so, right? Then you have the application for peer review. Then you say, I want to become a reviewer. I want to go to different firms and see how they are doing audit. I want to empanel myself as a reviewer. So this is the application form for the empanelment as a peer reviewer, right? Then if you want to become a reviewer, you have to clear the online test. Right, for becoming a peer reviewer. Then how to become a peer reviewer. Then you also have the formats, the model, final report, the time schedule for conducting the peer review. Then the peer review of a new unit, right, which has just been in operation for last 1 year. Right, so the peer review of the new unit, that is you just started your practice. Right, so peer review of the new units. Then you have the peer review guidelines. Then also the training programs are conducted for the peer reviewer. So if you want to become a reviewer, you have to do the training program. Then you have to write down the online test. Then you have to empanel yourself as a reviewer with the ICAI. And then you become a peer reviewer. You cannot just go knocking walking into any CA firm, okay, come, I have come to do your peer review. No, there is an eligibility to be a reviewer. You have to do the training program, you have to clear the requisite test, you have to give the declarations, and then you empanel yourself as the reviewer, right? So these are the various places where the peer review program, right? The reviewer, the training program for the reviewers are taking place. Right, so the training programs, and then after that you have the other guidelines. Right, this is a very nice form over there wherein they've given the illustrative time schedule. Right, so you come to know the entire time schedule, right, for conducting the peer review, and again you have the cost of the peer review, right? So in case if the average receipts of your firm are up to 10 lakh, then what is the peer review fee? It will be 15,000. And in case if you are doing the start audit of the listed entity, then your peer review fee will be 18,000. Who has decided this? Peer review board. But who needs to pay this? The practice unit has to pay it to the reviewer. So if the receipts of your firm are over 30 crore, what is the peer review fee? 5 lakh rupees. Right, so when the reviewer comes for doing the review, he gets the 5 lakh rupee of the fee. Are you understanding that, everyone? Right, the fee does not include the GST which may be charged wherever applicable. Right, so again what we are studying over here, is it theoretical? No, 100% practical. That is, this actually happens, no, the peer review of the ICAI. Right, you also have this document which has been issued by the ICAI called as the peer review guidelines. Right, so again they have the peer review and its objective, the coverage of peer review. Right, so all the points regarding the peer review. Also all the forms have been given over here. Right, we'll be going through these forms, right, the form 1, 2, 3, 4 and so. Right, so do you get some idea regarding what we are talking about over here? Okay, now I'm going to discuss 4 questions with you. 1, what is the objective of peer review? Second, what is the scope of peer review? Third, what do you mean by technical, ethical and the professional standards? And fourth, what is not included in the assurance services? Right, fourth, what is not included in the assurance services? Right, so what is first question which I have already discussed with you? What are the objectives of the peer review? So what are the objectives of the peer review? To check compliance with the TEP, technical, ethical, professional standards. And second, to check the quality of assurance services. Right, to check the quality of assurance services. Right, compulsorily, this is what you need to write in, what you need to remember regarding peer review. What you need to remember: TEP, technical, ethical, professional standards, and the quality of assurance services. This is what is checked in a peer review. This is why a peer review is conducted. To check the compliance, whether the members of the institute, are they complying with the technical, ethical, professional standards, and second, whether there is quality of the assurance services. Okay, then, so now when the reviewer is going to come to your CA firm, to your practice unit for doing the review, past how many years a file he can pick up? Preceding 3 years files can be picked up for the peer review. And then what does it say? What will be covered in the peer review? One, again same what we had studied in the objectives. What we had studied in the objectives: compliance with the technical, ethical and the professional standards, also the assurance services. Right, so assurance services, the quality of the reporting. Then a new point which has been introduced over there in your RTP May 23. Okay, what is also included in the scope of peer review is the self-evaluation under the AQMM. Right, audit quality maturity model. Right, so like, you know, companies like banks and NBFC, do they get a credit rating? Right, credit rating, it says similarly the CA firm, it should have a rating based on the audit quality maturity model, right, based on the audit quality maturity model, right. So this is the AQMM, right, the audit quality maturity model. Again a new concept. Will anybody come and do your audit quality maturity model? No, it says the firm will self-evaluate the level of their audit maturity, they identify the strength and the lacking areas, and then entities to which the AQMM will apply. Right, so all firms who are doing the audit of the listed entity, banks other than cooperative banks and the insurance company. And then each form of network of the firm follows the same, the SQC, standard on quality control, the HR and the operational practices. And AQMM, what is AQMM? Audit quality maturity model requires the exercise of the professional judgment, and then it says they have to do the self-evaluation of the AQMM, and the peer reviewer shall review the scores and the level alongside the peer review cycle of the firm. So you will do a self-evaluation, you will say how much score have you given to your firm, and that will also be looked into by the peer reviewer. Okay, and what are the scorings which could be given over there? It says for practice management 280 points, for human resource management 240 points, and for practice management, that is the strategic and functional, 80 points. Right, so total you have to self-evaluate your firm, your practice, and out of 600 you have to give the points to your firm. Are you understanding that? Right, so subsections, again the section 1, 2, 3, 17 subsections, and then how you give the points. Right, it says the number of statutory audit engagements reworked. Right, so total possible points, less than 5, more than 5, more than 15% of your engagements you've reworked. Then what you should do? Give the -1 point to your firm. Right, so accordingly you will get the rating points out of the 600. So you might get 400 or 500 points over there. Right, this is self-evaluation. Are you going to put this on your website? No, this is not to be told to anybody. Right, AQMM are required to maintain the documentation. Right, are required to maintain the documentation, and it is only a self-evaluation model. Right, so that's again a new concept that they are coming up with, the AQMM. Right, so level 1, what does it say? Up to 25% in each section, that the firm is very nascent. Up to 25 to 50, then they are showing some progress. 750 to 75, that means the firm has made the substantial progress. We'll have to fine tune further to reach the highest level of the competency. And if they get more than 75%, you understand the points we studied over here, no? 280, 240 and 80. So if they get more than 75% in each level, then indicates that the firm has made a significant adoption of these standards and procedures and should focus on optimizing further. Right, so again you have the audit quality maturity model. Okay, right, so what does it talk about over here is the audit quality maturity model. So it says, will that be also included in the scope of peer review? Yes, so this could be an MCQ in your exams. That self-evaluation of AQMM, is it included in the scope of peer review? Yes, because that's a new point over there. Right, so what do you see over there? One, what is covered in the scope of peer review? Technical, ethical, professional standards, quality of reporting, then the assurance services, then new point over there, AQMM. Then also, when the reviewer will come to your practice unit, he will also check whether your firm is conducting the adequate training program. Again, they made a case study on this. Okay, this CA who has come for doing the peer review, he says you are not giving the training to your staff. They are telling the reviewer this is not included in the scope of peer review. Why you are checking the training programs of our staff? No, even that is included in the scope of peer review, because the new CARO has come, company law has come, income tax changes have come, GST changes have come. Do you need to give the training to the staff of your CA firm? Yes, so will that also be covered in the scope of peer review? When the reviewer comes to your firm, will he check whether training programs are being conducted? Yes. Then the reviewer, he'll also check the compliance with the directions, guidelines for the members, also compliance with the directions, guidelines for the articles. Right, so like there is a restriction on the number of tax audits to be accepted, 60. Right, so the reviewer, he will check that whether you are not accepted more than 60 tax audit assignments. Then article stipend is to be paid every month. So again the reviewer, he will check whether the stipend is being paid every month. Right, so all this is covered in the scope of the peer review. So when that uncle, when that reviewer, he will come to your firm, what all he will check? Compliance with technical, ethical, professional standards, quality of reporting, assurance services. Then he will also check your self-evaluation of the AQMM. Then he will also look into the training programs, then the directions, guidelines for the members, the directions, guidelines for the articles. And once he comes for the peer review, previous how many years assignments can be picked up? Previous 3-year assignments can be picked up. Are you getting that, everyone? Okay. Right, so that's the objective and the scope of the peer review. Then third question I have is, what you mean by the technical, ethical and the professional standards? So what is meant by technical, ethical, professional standards? Accounting standards issued by the ICAI. Accounting standards prescribed under 133. Then Ind AS prescribed under 133. So 3 varieties of the AS. AS issued by ICAI, AS issued under 133 and the IND AS issued under the 133. Then after auditing standards, AS comes the SA. Right, standards, right? So standards on the auditing. So engagement and quality control standards. Do you know all of you? Okay, what standards have been issued by the AASB, the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board of the ICAI are the engagement and the quality control standards. As a chartered accountant, what are the types of engagements that you can perform? You can do the audit, you can do the review, you can do the other assurance engagements other than audit and review, and you can also provide the related services. When you are appointed to do an audit, you follow the standards on auditing. When you are appointed to do a review, you follow the standards on the review engagement. When you are appointed to do the other assurance, you follow the standards on the assurance engagement. When you are appointed for the related services, you follow the standards on related services. And whatever be the type of engagement you are performing, you always need to maintain the quality. So you need to follow the standard on the quality control. Right? How many auditing standards have been issued? 38. How many standards on review engagement? 2. How many on assurance? 3. How many on the related services? 2. And how many quality control? 1. Right? So in total there are the 46 standards. Out of that, what is applicable for your exams is the 35 standards on auditing and 1 standard on the quality control. We said now 36 standards are applicable for your exams. For November 23, May 24, all 46 are applicable. Right, May 24, they've made this SRE, SAE, SRS again applicable, and the 3 standards in the 800 series, 800, 805 and 810 also applicable. Are you understanding that? So when I say engagement and quality control standards, what does that include? Standards on auditing, standards on review engagement, standards on assurance engagement, standards on related services, and the standards on the quality control. Right? SA, SRE, SAE, SRS and the SQC. Are you able to follow this, everyone? Okay. Right. So what does it say? The engagement and the quality control standards. Then the statements, guidance notes, standards on the internal audit. Then the guidelines, notifications, directions, pronouncements. Yes, professional standards issued from time to time by the council or its committees. Right, so one is AS, second is SA. Then after that you have the framework for the preparation and presentation of the financial statements, and also the framework for the SQC, audit, review, other assurance related services. Are you able to correlate these words now? SQC, auditing, SA, review, SRE, other assurance, SAE, and related services, SRS. Right, then after the framework, you also have the provisions of the relevant statutes and regulation and any other technical, ethical, professional standards issued by any authority governing the profession of the chartered accountancy. Right, so what do you mean by technical, ethical, professional standards, everyone? Accounting standards, auditing standards, framework, provisions, and the other technical. Right, issued by any regulatory authority governing the profession of the chartered accountancy. Is it clear to everyone? That is what you mean by the technical, ethical, and the professional standards. This is the reviewer going to check the compliance with the technical, ethical, professional standards? Yes. And then what is the second objective of the reviewer? To check the quality of the assurance services, right? So now, what is not included in the assurance services? Say I am a CA firm. Can I represent my client before the income tax authorities? Can I represent my client before the income tax authorities? Yes or no? Yes. Can I do management consultancy services? Can I do audit? Can I do review? Yes. Can I do compilation engagement? Right, but now what does it say? What is going to be covered in the scope of peer review? Peer review only includes the assurance services. So say during the 3 years, I did any representation before the tax authorities. Will that be covered in the scope of peer review? No. I did some management consultancy services. Will that be covered? No. Audit review, will it be covered? Yes. Compilation engagements, will it be covered? No. So we have the areas which are excluded from the scope of peer review. That means what is not included in the assurance services. What is not included in the assurance services? Out of the scope of the peer review. What is out of the scope? Representation before the tax authorities, preparing the tax return. Then compiling the financial statements, then compiling other than the financial statements. Right? So compilation of financial statements, compilation of other than financial statements. Then giving expert opinion and the expert witness. Again, not covered in the scope of the peer review. And then management consultancy and the due diligence, again not covered in the scope of the peer review. Can these work be done by a practicing chartered accountant? Yes, but when that uncle will come to your CA firm to do the peer review, is he going to look into this work being done by your firm? No. It is an area which is excluded from the scope of the peer review. What is excluded? Representing before tax authorities, preparing tax return, compiling financial statements, compiling other than financial statements, expert opinion, expert witness, due diligence and the consultancy engagements. These are excluded from the scope of the peer review. Are you able to follow this, everyone? These are excluded from the scope of the peer review, right? So again, we have the questions coming in your exam regarding the write short note on what is peer review, objective of peer review, scope of peer review, what you mean by technical, ethical and the professional standards, and what are the areas not to be examined in peer review. Page number 16.19. Right, page number 16.19, right, read question number 6. Mr. M, appointed as a peer reviewer for K Associates, has asked for all the compilation and the due diligence engagement. Is that covered in the scope of peer review? No. Right, carried out by K Associates for her peer review during the period considered for peer review purposes by the board. She has also sent out a mail to the peer review board regarding her selection. K, the managing partner of the firm, seeks your advice on the matter. Right, so what do we say? What is excluded from the scope of peer review? Right, the due diligence and the compilation engagement. They are excluded from the scope of the peer review. What is included in the scope of peer review? Technical, ethical, professional standards, quality of reporting, assurance engagement, training program, compliance with direction guideline. Abhi padha tha na? What is included in the scope of peer review? But what is excluded is the compilation and the due diligence. That is why, what does it say? Mr. CAM is not correct, as due diligence and compilation engagement are not covered in the scope of the assurance engagement. Again, question number 7. Mohan has been appointed as a peer reviewer of TB and Associates. He has asked for all the management consultancy engagements done by the firm and the representation before the various authorities carried out by TB and Associates for his peer review during the period considered for the peer review purposes. Again, is it covered in the scope of peer review? No. Representation before tax authority and management consultancy services is outside the scope of the peer review. Everybody, are you able to follow this question over here? What is excluded from the scope of peer review? Representing before tax authorities, preparing tax return, compiling financial statements, compiling other than financial statements, expert opinion, expert witness, and management consultancy and the due diligence. These are the areas which are excluded from the scope of the peer review. Are you able to follow that, everyone? Okay. So what questions I discussed with you? Objective of peer review, scope of peer review, what do you mean by technical, ethical, professional standards, and what is excluded from the scope of the peer review. That is what is not included in the assurance services. Is it clear to all of you? Right, what is not included in the assurance services. Okay, right, then we come to the applicability and the periodicity. Again, this is R raised to 10. It has only come in your RTP May 23. Right, the applicability and the periodicity. So maybe the questions in the question bank will not match with this updated content. You understand? Because they've changed the applicability of the peer review and the periodicity of the peer review. So what does it say? As per the peer review guideline 2022. Did I just show you that document? Peer review guideline. Criteria of peer review are defined on the following basis. Mandatory, that is, it is mandatory for such practice units as may be decided by the council, and voluntary. Okay, any practice unit suo moto may apply to the board for the conduct of its peer review. No board will practice unit will suo moto apply, unless it is mandatory or they require to do the audit of a listed entity for which they require a peer review certificate. Right? So one, it says mandatory, second it says it could be voluntary, and third it says special case. Right? What is the special case that they are talking about over here? The board, based on information received from the secretary. Which board? Peer review board. Based on information received from the secretary, the ICAI, the disciplinary directorate, or any other regulator, like say SEBI, FEMA, or so, IRDA, RBI, which in the opinion of the board requires a special peer review of the practice unit, may conduct a special peer review of the practice unit for such period as determined by the board. Right? So one is mandatory, second is voluntary, and third is the special case. Okay, where in the special case, when a request is received from the secretary, ICAI, disciplinary directorate, or any other regulator, then they may conduct a special peer review. Okay. And what is the mandate? Okay, it is mandatory for these firms to get a peer review done. What is the mandate over there? Applicable with effect from 1st April 22, 23, 24, and 25. Right? To which CA firms is it applicable? From 1st April 22, 23, 24, and the 25. 22 if you are doing the audits of the listed entities. With effect from 1st April 22, when is it mandatory for you to be holding a valid peer review certificate? If you are doing the audit of a listed entity whose debt or equity is listed in India or abroad. Right? So listed entity auditors, what does it say? Peer review mandatory with effect from 1st April 22. Right, then second one, can you read and tell me something? Practice units who propose to undertake the statutory audit of the unlisted public company having paid up share capital of not less than 500 crore or turnover of not less than 1000 crore, or having the loan debenture deposits of not less than 500 crore, similar to the applicability of section 132, which is the NAFRA. Right? NFRA. Right? 500 crore, 1000 crore, or the 500 crore, or a practice unit having more than 5 or more partners. Right? If you are doing the audit of the unlisted public companies, 500, 1000, or the 500 crore, or your firm is a firm having 5 or more partners. Right? Or your firm is a firm having the 5 or more partners. Okay. Right. Then what is the next one? Practice units who propose to undertake the statutory audit of any entity who's raised funds from the public bank or the financial institution of over 50 crore during the period under the review, or of any body corporate including trusts which are covered under the public interest entities. Right. So what is the third one over there, which have raised the funds of more than 50 crore, or which are the public interest entities, or which are having 4 or more partners. What does it say? Those CA firm peer review to be effective, a mandatory peer review certificate with effect from 1st April 24. And then last one, what does it say? Practice units who propose to undertake audits of branches of public sector banks. Right? So if you are doing the audit of the branches of the public sector banks, right? Audits of the branches of the public sector banks, or your firm is having the 3 or more partners, then peer review will be mandatory peer review certificate required with effect from 1st April 25. Right? What I have written here: 1st April 22, 1st April 23, 1st April 24, and 1st April 25. So when is it mandatory for? Yes, from 1st April 22, if you are a if you are doing the audit of a listed entity, if your CA firm, practice unit, is doing the audit of a listed entity, or it is doing the audit of the unlisted public companies or the firm having more than 5 or more partners. Then raised funds of more than 50 crore, or it is the public interest entity or having the 4 or more partners. And then what does it say? Branches, doing the audits of the branches of the public sector branches, or it is a firm having the 3 or more partners. Then peer review mandatory with effect from the 1st April 25. Okay, right. So now say Sparkle and Company. Right, Sparkle and Company is doing the audit of the Growth Limited. Okay, so Growth Limited is the client and Sparkle and Company is the practice unit. That is the CA firm, no? That is the auditor who is doing the audit. And the client is not happy with the work done by Sparkle and Company. Can the client request to the peer review board that please, this CA, please get their peer review done? Then can the client request to the peer review board that, you know, the CA firm who is doing our audit? No, so you get a peer review of that CA firm done. Yes, it says even the client of the practice unit, right? Any practice unit not selected may suo moto apply, and even a client may request the board for the conduct of a peer review of its auditor, right? So even Growth Limited can send a request to the peer review board that please do a peer review of the practice unit Sparkle and Company. And if the board receives such a request, it has to take the action within 30 days from the date of receipt of such a request. And then the board needs to take the action within the 30 days from the date of receipt of the request. Are you understanding that, everyone? Okay. Right. So this is again very important, R raised to 10. Why? Because recently it has been changed. Right, applicability and the periodicity. And May 23, they asked a question regarding what is not included in assurance services. Generally, what amendment comes, they don't ask it immediately. They ask it after 1 or 2 attempts. You understand? So now the only option left for them for asking it is November 23. Okay. Right. So applicability and the periodicity. Then after that you have right. Then after that you have the peer review board. Right. Peer review board. What does it say? The board shall consist of the. Earlier it said only a maximum of 12 members. Now what is the amendment which has come in RTP May 23? Minimum of 6 members and maximum of the 12 members. Right, so minimum of 6 and maximum of 12, and at least 50% should be the council members. And individuals of other in high integrity and reputation, even they may be appointed on the board of the peer review. Even they may be appointed on the board of the peer review. Right, so here where we had seen the peer review board of the ICAI, right, what we had seen can not only the members of the ICAI, but even an advocate was on the board. Right, even an advocate was there on the peer review board of the ICAI. Right, so you see it over here. Right, you see towards the end there is an advocate also. Right, so not a member of the institute, but also there on the board. So at least 50% should be the council members, right? They are on the council of the ICAI. Council of ICAI, how many people are there? 40. 32 elected by the members from amongst themselves and 8 nominated by the central government. Right, so what does it say? So at least 50% of the members on the board should be the council members, and individuals of high integrity and reputation may also be included in the board. Right, then the chairperson and the council, which vice chairperson has to be elected by the council members who is appointed on the board, and a declaration of confidentiality by all these peer review board members. They also have to sign a declaration of the confidentiality, has to be signed by all members of the board and the board secretariat. Right, so what you say, constitution of the peer review board? Minimum 6 members, maximum 12 members, at least 50% should be the council members. Then what does it say? Other individuals of high integrity and reputation may also be taken on the board, may also be nominated on the board. Then the council will appoint the chairperson and the vice chairperson from amongst the council members appointed on the board. So chairperson and vice chairperson has to be the council member. It cannot be the outside individuals of the high integrity and the reputation. Then what does it say? These board members and the board secretariat, they also have to give a declaration of the confidentiality. What is the tenure of their office? 2/3 of the members shall be for 2 years or the end of the term in the council, whichever is earlier. Right, so say your council term remaining is only 2 years. So in that case, what does it say? 2 years. But say your council term is of 6 years. So in that case, 3 years. Right, so 2/3 of the members, what is their term? 3 years or end of the term in the council, whichever is earlier. For how many years can you become a council member of the ICAI? 3 terms of 3 years. So one time you are elected, then you become the council member for 3 years. Again you stand in the election, again you win, again for 3 years. Again you stand in the election, again you win, then total 9 years. Right, so how many years can you be on the council of the ICAI? Maximum for 9 years. You understand? Maximum for the 9 years, right? So what does it say? What is the tenure? 2/3 of the members shall be for 3 years or the end of their term in the council, whichever is earlier. Then the chairperson and the vice chairperson will be rotated every year. And very important, this is where they ask the MCQs in the exam. A member of the disciplinary committee or the disciplinary board. Do you remember this disciplinary committee, disciplinary board? If anything guilty under the first schedule, it comes to the board of discipline, that is disciplinary board. And second schedule or both schedule, then it comes to the disciplinary committee. What does it say? So if you are a member of the disciplinary board or if you are a member of the disciplinary committee, can you be a member of the peer review board? No, you cannot be a member of the peer review board of the ICAI. Right? Then they need to have the meetings and they also need to submit their report to the council. Right, so that is regarding the peer review board. Did you follow this point? Okay, you are on the council of ICAI and you are a disciplinary directorate member. Then it says you cannot become a member of the peer review board. You follow that, everyone? Okay, right. Then after that, next question again asked in your exams, eligibility to be a reviewer. Right, eligibility, you say I want to become a reviewer. Right, so what does it say? At least 7 years of assurance practice experience. So again RTP May 23, so R raised to 10. Earlier it only says 7 years of experience. Now they say 7 years of assurance practice experience. 7 years of assurance practice experience. So say I'm working in a CA firm, but I'm only doing the taxation work. So though I have 7 years of experience, I don't have the 7 years of the assurance practice experience. I should be having the stat audit experience, review experience for the 7 years. So at least 7 years of the assurance practice experience. Then in case if a member has moved from the industry to the practice, then you should be having industry experience of at least 10 years and then the practice experience of at least 3 years. Right. So one, if I'm only into practice, then I should be having the practice experience of 7 years. But say I was working, I was a CA in service and then I shifted to practice. You were CA working in the industry. That means I was a CA in service. So and then I shifted to practice. I was working in the industry and then I shifted to the practice. Then what does it say? You should have industry experience of the 10 years and the practice experience of the 3 years. What if you don't have industry experience of 10 years, after 8 years only you left your job? Then obviously condition 1 will apply, 7 years. If you cannot fulfill condition 2, then you have to fulfill condition 1. You say after 6 years only I left my job. So no problem, then you don't fit into criteria 2. Then in that case you have to fit into criteria 1, 7 years of the assurance practice experience. Are you understanding that? But if the member has moved from the industry to the practice, then what does it say? 10 years of industry experience and 3 years of the audit experience. Then you also have to undergo the requisite training. You have to also clear the requisite test. Then you also have to give the declaration of the confidentiality as per the form 2. Right, so 1, you have to have 7 years of the assurance practice experience. Then 10(3), if you move from industry to practice, 10 years of industry experience, 3 years of the audit experience. Then you have to undergo the requisite training. You have to clear the requisite test. Then you have to give the declaration of the confidentiality. Okay. And then what does it say? You shall not be eligible for appointment as a reviewer. So this can come as a retail question in your exams. Right, when you are not eligible to be appointed as a reviewer, when any disciplinary proceedings have been pending against him. Right, so with some guilty, some charge of professional misconduct is pending against you. So obviously in that case, can you become a reviewer? No. Right, then what does it say? Has been found guilty of professional or other misconduct. So 1, proceedings are pending. 2nd, he is guilty and found guilty. Then he has been convicted by a competent court for an offence, whether within or outside India, of an offence involving the moral turpitude and punishable with the imprisonment. Then he or his partners have any obligation or conflict of interest in the practice unit. Right, so that practice unit, I have my relative working in that practice unit. Right, so I have any obligation, any conflict of interest in the practice unit. I am a reviewer. I have 7 years of assurance experience. I want to go to this practice unit for the peer review, but I am having a conflict of interest in that practice unit. So then can I go for doing the peer review there? No. Or if I have undertaken my articleship in that practice unit, then can I go for the peer review over there? No. Has undergone his training, articleship under any of the partner of the practice unit. Many CAs, they have that revenge that one day I will go to the CA firm where I did my articleship and do their peer review and give them a modified report over there. It says you're not allowed only. You cannot go only to that CA firm. Are you understanding that? Right. So what does it say? One, disciplinary proceeding is pending. Second, he is guilty. Third, he is convicted. Fourth, he is having any obligation or any conflict of interest, or he has undergone any training, articleship under any of the partner of the practice unit. Okay. Right. So now say, which is the CA firm where the peer review is to be conducted? Sparkle and Company. And who is the reviewer going for the review? CAR. Right? What CAR says, oh, I will go to this practice unit. I will come to know what audits they are doing. Then I'll ask them, if you have any extra work, give it to me. Right? What does it say? You cannot have any professional assignment from the practice unit 2 years before you accept the peer review, and also after 2 years after you finished with the peer review. So last 2 years, I should not have had any professional assignment with the practice unit, and next 2 years also, I cannot have any assignment from the practice unit. Because as such, can you apply, request, invite, secure work from another CA? So you say, okay, I will go for peer review. Then I will tell them, oh, you have too much work. You want me to give me some work? No problem. Give me the work. It says no. Last 2 years, you should not have done any work for them. Or next 2 years also, once you do the peer review, you cannot do any work for them. Are you understanding? Earlier it was only after 2 years. Now they've also added before 2 years. Okay, earlier also 2 years you should not have done any work, and next 2 years also you will not do any work. Are you understanding that? Okay, right. And then after that it says, can you take any another CA along with you to do the peer review? Yes, you can take one qualified assistant who is a chartered accountant, right? So article you cannot take along with you for doing the peer review. You can take another CA, a person who does not attract any of the disqualifications under Section 8. What is Section 8? Disabilities for membership. Right, and what is Section 21? Guilty of professional or the other misconduct. So if I am going for the peer review, can I take another CA with me? Yes, but that another CA should not be having disability for membership, or he should not be guilty of the professional or the other misconduct by the ICAI. Do you understand that? Eligibility to be a reviewer, right? So again, a question asked in your exams regarding the eligibility to be a reviewer, right? Again, a question asked in your exams regarding the eligibility to be a reviewer. Okay. Now here also there is a question. See, Vimal wants to apply in the empanelment of the peer reviewer. He was in employment till 2012, and then he shifted from industry and started his own practice. Below is his experience and employment record from 1995 to 2012. Right, so what does it say? 95 to 98, 98 to 2007, then 2007 to 2012, and then 2012 to 2022. So anyways, own practice, sole proprietor, audit and taxation for last 2012 to 2022. So anyways, that experience itself he is having for 10 years, right? He is having that experience 1st April 12 to 31st March 22. So his assurance practice experience is only 10 years. What is the assurance practice experience requirement? Is only 7 years. So anyways, he is fulfilling the condition 1 only. So no need to check for the condition 2. Okay, he's moved from industry to practice and 10 and 3. Right, so what does it say? In the current scenario, CA Vimal was in employment, and then he has audit experience for 9 years, from 2012 to 2022. He is in practice since last 10 years. He is eligible for a peer reviewer by virtue of the condition stipulating that a peer reviewer shall be a member in practice with at least 7 years of the assurance practice experience. Do you understand that? He already has the 7 years of the assurance practice experience. Okay. Right. Then after that, can you take a qualified assistant with you? Right, for doing the peer review, yes, you can take a qualified assistant with you. Okay, right, then you have the stepwise approach of the reviewer, the areas of control, and then again, what are the areas which will be covered in the independence assessment. Right, so now when the reviewer comes to your CA firm, are you getting the word? Reviewer is coming to your CA firm to do the peer review. When he comes for doing the peer review, is he going to check how your firm complies with the requirement of independence? The reviewer, when he comes to the practice unit for doing the peer review, is he going to check how your firm complies with the independence requirement? Yes. So again, he will check whether the firm has the policy for the independence, whether it has been communicated to all the firm personnel, then how they monitor the compliance with the policy, then how they also review that how they are ensuring the objectivity and the independence, and also whether they've identified any threats to the independence. Very similar to what we studied in automated environment for the whistleblower policy. Right? Do they have a whistleblower policy? Whether it has been communicated? Do they monitor the compliance with the policy? Right? So here also, do they have a policy of the independence, whether it has been communicated to all the firm personnel, whether they monitor the compliance with the policy, whether they review the practice units association, and how do they deal with the threats to the independence. Right? How do they deal with the threats to the independence of the auditor? Are you understanding that, everyone? Okay. Right. So now coming to the other questions in the peer review, that is the stepwise approach of the reviewer. So now when the reviewer comes to the practice unit for the purpose of conducting the peer review, what he will do, he will, from the total assurance engagements done in the last 3 years, he will pick up a few sample files. And for those, see, in the last 3 years, the practice unit might have done 300 assurance engagement. Is the reviewer going to check all the 300 assurance engagement? No, he will select the samples. And for those samples selected, say he's picked up 2 files. For those samples selected, he will check the engagement letter, whether it has been issued by the practice unit to the client. You understand? No, I am the reviewer. I am checking how these practice units have done the audit. So they had done 300 audits. Out of that, I pick up 2 files. And for those 2 files, I start doing the checking. So I start with the engagement letter. Okay, when they accepted the audit, did they issue the engagement letter? Then how many assurance engagement I select depends upon the answers given to the questions in the questionnaire and the size of the practice unit. I'll be coming to the questionnaire later on. And second, it depends upon the policies and procedures for accepting a particular engagement. Do you know acceptance of audit? SQC 1. Right, so how many samples to be selected? It depends upon the answers given to the questions in the questionnaire and the size of the practice unit and the policies, procedures which they have for accepting an audit. Right, so one, when the reviewer comes for the audit, he is going to check the engagement letter. Then how many engagements he selected depends on the following factor. And now when the reviewer is going to do the review at the practice unit, he is going to perform a combination of the compliance procedures and the substantive procedures. So the one who goes and does the compliance and substantive of the entire world, now the reviewer will come and do the compliance and substantive of the art. You understand? You are a CA firm. Do you go and do the further audit procedure, TOC and substantive, compliance procedure, substantive procedure? So practice unit do it for all their clients. And now this reviewer, this says, you do it for all the other clients that you do. We are going to do your compliance and substantive checking. That is, we are going to do the control testing of your quality control system, and we are also going to check the we are also going to perform the substantive test. Right, so compliance test, they are going to review the system, the policies and procedures at the practice unit, and substantive test, they are going to review the practice unit working papers. Right, so now they are going to do the compliance and substantive. Do you understand? Are you able to correlate, everyone? Okay, audit procedures. What are those? Risk assessment procedures, further audit procedures. Further audit procedures, TOC and substantive. TOC can also be called as the compliance procedures. This you go and do it at the client place. Who does it? The CA firm, the practice unit. But now the reviewer who is coming, what he is doing? He is doing the compliance procedures and the substantive procedures on your CA firm. So he's checking your systems and procedures, policies and procedures, and he's also going to review your working papers. And finally, the reviewer will also review what records? Records regarding the significant issues, whether adequate audit evidence has been obtained, and also whether significant decisions relating to the engagement, have they been properly documented. Right, so this is the stepwise approach of the reviewer. What he will check? He will start with the engagement letter and come right up to the report. Okay, whether significant decisions where professional judgment has been used, whether they are properly documented. That means whether they are properly reported and also documented. Right, so that is the stepwise approach of the reviewer. Starting with the engagement letter, then number of assurance engagement, then a combination of the compliance and substantive procedures, and while evaluating the records, the working papers, what is mainly going to check? Any significant issues, matters which have been identified, whether adequate audit evidence has been obtained and significant decisions have been properly documented. Right, now when the reviewer is coming to the practice unit for the purpose of doing the peer review, what is the obligation of the practice unit? One, they say reviewer has come at 9 o'clock in the morning, nobody is looking at the reviewer. No, what does it say? The practice unit should give all the information, produce to the reviewer all the access to any record, give all the explanation, give all the assistance. Right, so they cannot, like just as a company auditor, what are the rights of the company auditor? To access books of account, to obtain information, explanation. So similarly, now when the reviewer is coming to the practice unit, what is the obligation of the practice unit? To give him access to all records, to give him all explanation, to give him all the assistance. Also, say the practice unit has designed some policies and procedures in line with SQC 1, and this policy procedure document of the practice unit is in Kannada. And now the reviewer who has come for doing the review does not know the Kannada language. It's all written in Kannada, right? Some Kannada language it is written, and now this reviewer does not know the Kannada language. If he knows the Kannada language, then no problem. But if he does not know, then a translation in English or Hindi will be provided to the reviewer as requested by the reviewer. Again, candidate for MCQ. If it is any language other than English or Hindi. Right, what does it say? If the matter is in any other language, then such translation is requested by the reviewer with the translation in English Hindi. So you have your policies, procedures in English, and reviewer is saying, no, I only know Kannada. You please translate and give it to me in Kannada. No. If the policies and procedures of the firm are in English or Hindi, and the reviewer says translate and give it to me in Kannada, will you translate and give it to him? No. But if they are in Kannada and he says please translate them to English or Hindi and give it to me, then will you have to give it to him? Yes. If they are in any other language other than English or Hindi. You understand? If they are in any other language other than English or Hindi and the reviewer is requesting that please give me a translation, then should the practice unit give such translation? Yes, it is the obligation of the practice unit. Are you able to follow this, everyone? Okay. And then what are the obligations of the reviewer? The reviewer, you should not take any extracts of the working paper. You have to complete the review within the time frame. What is the prescribed time frame? 20 days. We'll see that. Right, what is the time frame? And second, he has to document all his working papers regarding how he's done the peer review and also send it to the peer review board if called for within 18 months of the submission of the review report. So you don't always need to submit it to the peer review board, but if it is called for, then within 18 months they have to submit it to the peer review board. Are you understanding that? Again, a question asked in your exams, obligations of the practice unit. This chapter, almost everything is there in the question bank because it's there since centuries, 2002, 2003. That time peer review came. And so since that time, that peer review, almost all questions have been asked in your exams. Right? So obligations of the practice unit. Are you able to follow that, everyone? You have the obligations of the practice unit and the obligations of the reviewer. Now we come to the peer review process. Right? Now we come to the peer review process. So how many candidates are there in the peer review process? There is the practice unit, there is the reviewer, and then there is the peer review board. Are you able to follow this? Right. How does the peer review process kickstart? How does the peer review process kickstart? An intimation is sent by the peer review board to the practice unit that your firm has been selected for the peer review, and this is the choice. Your firm has been selected for the practice unit. Or sometimes can the practice unit suo moto make an application to the peer review board? Yes, they can also suo moto make an application. So practice units which are desired to get peer reviewed shall make an application for the peer review in the application cum questionnaire in the form 1. Then if the peer review is initiated by the board, so it could be initiated by the practice unit or it could be initiated by the board. What does it say? The application cum questionnaire in form 1 should be submitted by the practice unit on request of the peer review board secretary. So 1, it could be initiated by the peer review board secretary. Then it says they have to submit the form 1, and 1 on their own they can submit the form 1 to the peer review board. Are you understanding that? So now what has happened? The peer review board has received the filled form 1. The peer review board has received the filled form 1. Then once the form has been received, what does it say? The application shall be duly numbered. Then once the form has been received by the peer review board, the name of 3 reviewers will be recommended by the board to the practice unit within 3 days. So first what the practice unit did, it gave the form 1 to the peer review board. Now the peer review board will send to the practice unit a choice of the 3 reviewer, and then the practice unit has to select any 1 out of the 3 reviewer within 3 working days. So nice. They will give a choice of 3 reviewers and you have to select any 1 out of them within 3 working days. Then the practice unit shall select 1 of the 3 reviewers, right? On receipt of the application, name of 3 reviewers will be recommended by the board to the practice unit within 3 days. So once the form 1 has been received, within 3 days they will communicate the choice of 3 reviewer. Then out of that 3 they have to select any 1 and send it to the peer review board within 1 day. First form 1 is received by the peer review board. Then they send a choice of 3 reviewers within 3 days. Then the practice unit has to select 1 reviewer within 1 working day. Are you understanding that? Select 1 out of the 3 reviewers recommended and intimate to the board within 1 working day. Then what does it say? The board will appoint the peer reviewer which is selected by the practice unit. So whatever they have communicated within 1 working day, now the peer review board will appoint the reviewer. So what happened so far? Either the practice unit send the form 1 to the peer review board, or peer review board secretary send the intimation to the practice unit, and the practice unit submitted the form 1. After the form 1 is received by the peer review board, then they will give choice of 3 reviewers within 3 working days. Then the practice unit within 1 working day they have to select 1 reviewer. Then the reviewer so selected will be appointed by the peer review board. Okay. Then what does it say? The reviewer, after he is appointed by the peer review board, has to submit a declaration of the confidentiality in form 2 within 2 working days. Right, so form 2 now within how many working days? Within 2 working days. Then a copy of the application cum questionnaire in form 1 which was submitted to the board is to be submitted to the reviewer within 2 working days of the appointment of the reviewer. Right, so the board will intimate the reviewer. He has to give the declaration in form 2 to the practice unit within 2 working days from the receipt of the choice of the reviewer from the practice unit. Right, so they have received the choice. Out of the 3, the reviewer has selected 1. So that 1 will be appointed by the reviewer. Then the reviewer has to give the declaration of confidentiality within 2 working days. And the practice unit will also provide a copy of the questionnaire to the reviewer within 2 working days of his appointment of the reviewer. So now this is the first direct communication between the practice unit and the reviewer. The original form 1 which you had submitted to the peer review board, now you will send a copy of that form to the reviewer within 2 days of the appointment of the reviewer. The practice unit will send it to the reviewer within the 2 working days. Okay, right. Then after that, what does it say? After the acknowledgement, the form 1 has been sent. Before commencement of the peer review, the peer review shall ensure that the declaration of the confidentiality is furnished to the practice unit and an acknowledgement has been received. And now on receiving the application cum questionnaire in form 1 from the practice unit. Who has received this form 1? The peer reviewer from the practice unit. So the application cum questionnaire in form 1 from the practice unit. Now the peer reviewer will initiate the peer review by intimating the practice unit the proposed visit and the proposed sample selected to be kept ready by the practice unit. So now what, after the appointment of the reviewer, the practice unit sent to the reviewer the form 1 which they had originally sent to the board. Once the reviewer has received the form 1, they will communicate the date of the proposed visit and also the sample selected to the practice unit. Okay, right. Then what does it say? The proposed samples are to be intimated by the reviewer in the form 5 prescribed by the board. Then the reviewer may ask for the additional information in the form 6 and the practice unit, what does it say, shall provide this additional information within the 1 working day. Then the reviewer within 2 days of receiving the information from the practice unit select the assurance engagement that they would like to review and intimate the same to the practice unit in form 5. And then the reviewer will plan the on-site review visit for the initial meeting in consultation with the practice unit, and the reviewer will give the practice unit at least 2 working days to keep the necessary records for the selected assurance services in the form 5. Earlier they used to give 15 working days. Now they have directly brought it down to 2 working days. Right. So what has happened so far? If I want to give you an idea, right, what has happened? The practice unit has submitted the form 1 to the reviewer. Then the reviewer may ask for the additional information. Then the practice unit needs to submit the additional information. Then the reviewer will select the sample and confirm the date of the on-site review. But at least 2 days time to be given after the selection of sample before the reviewer comes for the on-site review. So those 2 days are going to be very hectic in office. Right, because all the people who worked on that audit, everybody called back to office and all of them told to do the makeup, the finishing touch of that file again. Right, because why? The reviewer has picked up those 2 files. Right, so what does it say? At least 2 working days to keep the necessary records ready. Then what does it say? The entire peer review process, right, from the day of the submission of the form 1, the intimation to the practice unit up to the date of the issue of the report, the entire peer review process should be completed within the 20 days. Earlier it used to be 60 days. Now they've brought it down to 20 days. And then what does it say? For a new unit, peer review of a new unit, the entire peer review process should be completed within the 7 working days. Right? So for an existing practice unit, the peer review should be completed within the 20 working days, and for a new unit, the entire peer review should be completed within the 7 working days, right? Within the 7 working days, right? Here they've also defined a new unit, right? In the beginning of the chapter, they've also defined a new unit. What is a new unit? Means a firm whose date of establishment is less than 12 months, immediately preceding the date of receipt of the application of the peer review, or who may or may not have rendered any assurance services for a period exceeding 12 months but not rendering any assurance services. Right? So which is in existence for less than 12 months or which has not provided any assurance services in the last 12 months. Right? That is a new unit. Are you understanding that? Or may not have rendered any assurance services for a period exceeding 12 months but not rendering any assurance services. Right? So for new unit, when the peer review has to be completed within 7 days, and for an existing unit, the peer review has to be completed within the 20 days. Are you understanding that? Okay. Right. Right. So 20 days and the 7 days. Then after the 20 days and the 7 days, now what does it say? Comes the on-site review. So far they've selected the sample and they say we will come after 2 days. What has happened so far? They've selected the sample and they said after they select the sample, they say they will come after 2 days. Now when they come after 2 days, they cannot come for more than 6 days. You understand? On-site review cannot extend 6 working days. And for a new unit, on-site review cannot exceed the 1 working day. Right? For a new unit, the on-site review cannot exceed the 1 day. So new unit, the entire peer review has to be completed within 7 days, and the on-site review cannot exceed the 1 day, right? So 7 days, and the on-site review cannot exceed the 1 day. And for other units, the entire peer review process 20 days, and on-site review cannot exceed the 6 days. Right? The on-site review cannot extend the 6 days. Are you able to follow this, everyone? Yes, everyone, are you able to follow this? Right, so practice unit, what does it say? Existing 20 working days, and on-site review should not extend the 6 working days. But for a new unit, entire process to be completed within 7 days, and on-site review should not exceed the 1 day. Okay, right. So what does it say? The peer review. Yes, visits will be conducted at the practice unit, head office, or the branch, or any other location. This on-site review should not extend beyond the 7 working days. Earlier it was 7 working days. Then they made it 7 to 15 working days. Now they brought it down to 6 working days. Right, so it should not exceed the 6 working days based on the size of the practice unit. Now, when the reviewer comes for the on-site review, first he is going to do the review of the general controls. Which are the general controls which he is going to review? ISCAs. Right, what are the general controls he is going to review? The ISCAs. What is I? The independence. Then S is the maintenance of the professional skills and standards. C is the consultation. A is the office administration. And again, S is the staff recruitment, supervision, and the development. Right? So when the reviewer is now going to come to your practice unit for the when he is going to come to your practice unit for the on-site review, first he will do the review of the general controls. What are the general controls that he will review? Right, one, the independence, then the staff recruitment, supervision and development, professional skills and standards, then the outside consultation, then the office administration, and the staff recruitment, supervision and the development. Okay, right. Now how many audits to pick up? How many assurance engagements to be selected? Depends on. Right, so again this is a retail question which has been asked in your exams. Right, the number of assurance engagements to be reviewed depends upon the SQC of the firm, depends upon the methodology adopted by the practice unit in providing the assurance services, depends upon the number of partners and the number of locations. Say there are 3 partners in the firm, so you might say every partner at least 1 file. So number of partners. Second, number of locations. Say the firm is having an office in Hyderabad and Chandigarh. So you say each location I want to pick up 1 file. So it depends on the number of the location, and it depends upon the fees charged, the received, GST paid by the practice unit. Right? So depending upon fees charge, you see that they are charging substantially high fee or substantially low fee. Again, that sample you might select. Right? So what factors does it depend? How many files to pick up? Like I gave you example, 300 assurance engagements are being done, 3 files are being picked up. Right? So how do they decide this 3? Or any number? It depends upon the SQC, it depends upon the methodology adopted, it depends upon the number of the partners, it depends upon the number of the location, and it depends upon the fees paid, received, and the GST paid by the practice unit. Okay, so when I was doing my off-site review, that time I selected the 3 samples. Then I came for the on-site review. In the on-site review, I did the review of the general control. Based on my review of general control, the initial sample size, which I had decided of 3, can I reduce or enlarge that sample size? Can I reduce or enlarge that sample size? Yes. So I can say, Arey, their controls are very effective. No need to check 3, only 1 is enough. Or I may say pathetic, I need to check 5 files. You understand that? So initial sample selected, can that sample size be reduced or enlarged? Yes, it can be reduced or enlarged. Okay, and again when they come for the on-site review, they are going to do the same, the compliance procedures and the substantive procedures. In compliance, they are going to check for the controls, and in substantive, they are going to review the working papers. Are you understanding that? Right? Compliance procedures and the substantive procedures, right? Compliance approach and the substantive approach. This we had already discussed, no, in the stepwise approach of the reviewer. Right, so similar points over here, right? So what is one? Off-site. Then after off-site you have the on-site. On-site should not exceed 6 working days. Then what does it say? On-site number of samples selected depends upon the SQC, methodology, number of partners, number of locations, size of the GST paid and the fees charged and the received. Okay, then initial sample size, can it be increased or decreased? Yes. Then also review of records, you go for the compliance and the substantive approach. Then peer review of a new unit. Entire process has to be completed within 7 days and on-site review should not extend the 1 day. Okay, and then we come to the reporting by the reviewer. Right, so after the completion of the on-site review, at least this much you understand, off-site ho gaya, on-site ho gaya, now we come to reporting. Right, so after the completion of the on-site review, now the reviewer will submit the peer review report to the board along with form is 9 if in his opinion the practice unit has the adequate systems and procedures in compliance with the technical, ethical and the professional standards, and a copy of the report will be forwarded to the practice unit. So what will happen after the completion of the on-site review? The reviewer will submit the peer review report to the peer review board and also a copy of the report will be sent to the practice unit when they find that it is adequate, right? That the systems and procedures at the practice unit are adequate. Right? However, so what if they find it adequate? Directly issue the final report to the peer review board and also send a copy of the report to the practice unit. This is when they found the systems and procedures to be adequate. But what if they find the systems and procedures are deficient, if they are non-compliant? If they find it to be adequate, directly issue the peer review report to the peer review board and send a copy to the practice unit. Are you understanding that? However, if they find that the systems and procedures are deficient, they are non-compliant, then first what they will do, they will issue a preliminary report to the practice unit. Right? So now if they find that the practice unit, reviewer and the peer review board and the reviewer finds that the systems and procedures at the practice unit are deficient or non-compliant, they will send a preliminary report to the practice unit, right? They will send a preliminary report to the practice unit. The practice unit within 2 days of the receipt of the report has to make his submissions and representations to the reviewer. So they have to give a response to the preliminary report within the 2 working days. So if that is deficient, if it is adequate, then directly, the peer reviewer submits the report to the peer review board. But in case if it is deficient, then what does it say? Right, the preliminary report is to be submitted by the reviewer to the practice unit. The practice unit has to give the response within the 2 working days, and now 2 things may happen. The reviewer is satisfied with the responses given by the practice unit, or the reviewer is not satisfied with the responses given by the practice unit. If the reviewer is satisfied, are you seeing it over here? If the reviewer is satisfied with the reply received from the practice unit, he will submit an unqualified peer review report to the board along with form 9, and a copy of the report will be sent to the practice unit. So if he is satisfied with the responses, he will issue the peer review report and also a copy of the report will be sent to the practice unit. Are you understanding that? He will issue an unqualified peer review report if he is satisfied with the responses, and also a copy of the report will be sent to the practice unit. However, if the reviewer is not satisfied with the responses are not satisfactory, then the reviewer will submit a qualified report to the board incorporating the reason, and the copy of the report will also be sent to the practice unit. So now if he is not satisfied, then he will issue the qualified report to the peer review board, and also a copy of the report will be sent to the practice unit. And then what does it say? Now what type of report has been issued is the qualified report. Now what does it say in case of a qualified report? Are you seeing? I am reading the point number 3. In case of the qualified report, the peer review board secretary shall place the report before the board for consideration, and the board may decide for a follow-on review after a period of 1 year from the date of issue of the report by the reviewer, and this period may be reduced but not less than 6 months. Right? So in case of a qualified report, what does it say? Now the peer review board may order a follow-on review to be conducted after 1 year, between 6 months to 1 year. So that means they are giving them time. It is deficient and non-compliant. No. So they are giving 6 months to 1 year time to the practice unit to improve. They say we give you that much time. After 6 months the reviewer will come again. Or after 1 year the reviewer will come again. And then he will do the follow-on review and check whether you've improved on the findings of the peer review. And then after that the unqualified report and then the peer review certificate. Are you understanding the concept of follow-on review? If the reviewer is not satisfied with the responses, he will issue a qualified report to the peer review board. And based on the receipt of the qualified report, the peer review board may order a follow-on review to be conducted at the practice unit within a period of 6 months up to the 1 year. Are you understanding that? Okay. Right. So what does it say? Peer review report will state the system of internal control, whether it ensures compliance with the TEP. The following documents are to be submitted along with the peer review report. What documents are to be submitted? The annexures to the report, the copy of the questionnaire. You remember that form 1? The copy of the questionnaire as received from the practice unit, the list of samples selected, and the preliminary report and the submissions to the preliminary report. Submission means what? Response. Submission means what? The response to the preliminary report. So when you are issuing the peer review report, what all documents should be attached? Annexures, copy of the questionnaire, sample selected, and the preliminary report. No wonder if institute asks these questions in the MCQ. Right, that the copy of the preliminary, what you say, questionnaire is to be attached to the final peer review report. Now you say, why questionnaire copy is to be attached? It is to be attached to the peer review report. Are you understanding that? Okay. And then what does it say? Peer reviewer secretary will ensure that peer review report is accompanied by all the documents. It shall be placed before the board. And what did I say? The board may also call for a follow-on review. Now the entire peer review process has to be completed within 20 working days. And now what is received by the peer review board is the unqualified report in case of the satisfactory responses. What is received by the peer review board is the unqualified report in case of the satisfactory responses. Then the peer review board will issue the peer review certificate. Only after the peer reviewer confirms the fee received from the practice unit. They are so interesting people. It says peer review certificate will not be released till the time the fee has been paid by the practice unit to the reviewer. Only then the peer review board secretary will issue the peer review certificate. Then again peer review certificate to be issued to the new units, and the certificate has to be noted at the meeting. Okay, and then the peer review board secretary will update the list of the practice units having a valid peer review certificate. Did we see that on the website of ICAI? 3,501 firms having the valid peer review certificates. And in case of qualified report, they will mention that the peer review certificate cannot be issued and a follow-on review is to be conducted. Right? The follow-on review is to be conducted. Do you understand that, everyone? Yes, if unqualified report, they will issue the peer review certificate. But if it is a qualified report, then what they may order is a follow-on review and they will not issue the peer review certificate. Okay, right? Validity of the peer review certificate, what did we say? Depending upon the mandatory requirement over there. Right? So and once you know that your peer review certificate is about to expire, at least 1 month prior you have to make an application to the peer review board. You understand? You have to take the step. You cannot say, oh, nobody from the peer review board called me. Nobody will call you. You know that your peer review certificate is getting expired in the next 1 year. So you make an application to the peer review board within 30 days that please send us a choice of 3 reviewer. That please we need to get our peer review done. And can they extend the validity of the certificate? Yes. During COVID-19, they extended the validity of the peer review certificate. Right? Because it was not practical, that time to get the peer review done. Then, what are the inherent limitations of peer review? Obviously, it will not disclose all the weaknesses, and whatever weaknesses they might come across, they might inform about that, but not that it will tell you all the weaknesses in the practice unit. And also there are inherent limitations in the quality control system. Like yesterday what we studied, there are inherent limitations of internal control. Similarly, there are inherent limitations of the quality control system also. Right, so that is just an overview to all of you regarding the chapter of the peer review, right? So you have the obligations of the practice unit, selection of the sample, review of records, that is the compliance and the substantive, then the reporting stage and the peer review, right? Then read this question over here, question number 18. Page number 16.21. AB and Company CA is a large firm based in Mumbai, is subject to peer review. For the peer review, the firm got an intimation on June 30. X and Company were appointed to undertake the peer review. X and Company CA. Upon completion of the peer review, X and Company observe certain non-compliance, that means deficient or non-compliant, right? X and Company did not share any of the observations with AB and Company and submitted the final report to the peer review board. No, 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 no. Whenever you have any findings, you first need to give the preliminary report to the practice unit. Get their response within 2 working days. And if you are satisfied or not satisfied, accordingly you issue the peer review certificate, peer review report to the peer review board. You cannot issue the peer review report directly to the peer review board when you have any findings. If you had not had any findings, had their system been adequate, then you could have issued the final report to the peer review board and also sent a copy to the practice unit. But because here there are the findings, first the preliminary report, then the submissions, that is the response, and then satisfied or not satisfied with the responses. Are you understanding that? Okay. Right, so one, they say in the instant case, VU and Company, right, are deficient, the peer reviewer should not submit the report directly to the board. Okay, and then what does it say? Here they appointed X and Company. Can you appoint a CA firm to do your peer review? No, only an individual chartered accountant can be appointed to do a review. Only an individual CA can be appointed to do a review. That is why some of these students in the answer, they also wrote down the eligibility to be a reviewer. And what has happened? X and Company CA were appointed to undertake the peer review process. X and Company is a firm and it is not an individual member. Hence, as per the eligibility criteria, only an individual can be appointed as a reviewer and not a firm. Therefore, the appointment of X and Company as the peer reviewer is not in order. You understand? Then a question asked regarding the inherent limitations of the peer review. Then when you go for the review, how do you collect the evidences? Again, inspection, observation, inquiry. So we are making use of our 3 colors out of the 7 colors of ICAI-ORR. Right? Inspection, observation and the inquiry. So I am the reviewer. I am going to the practice unit. What I can do? Inspection, observation and the inquiry. Collection of evidences by the peer reviewer. And then you have a question regarding difference between the peer review and the quality review. Right, and then second part of the chapter, we come to the discussion on the quality review. Is it all good, everyone? Right, did you get an overview regarding the peer review? Okay, right, now coming to the discussion regarding the quality review, right? So now we come to the discussion regarding the quality review. Okay, now quality review, let us have a look at this quality review report of the QRB. Right, so again we have a separate authority, right? We have the QRB. Now peer review board was of the ICAI. Quality review board is established under an act of the parliament. That means it is separate from the ICAI in pursuance of professional excellence, right, of the chartered accountants in India. And then you have the, again, you want to empanel yourself as a quality technical reviewer, right? So again, panel of technical reviewers, right, for the year 23, right? So who all are the technical reviewers, right? So all these people have been empaneled as the technical reviewers over there, right? Then online application form for empanelment as a technical reviewer, online application form for associating industry expert, right? And then after they have completed with the quality review for the 21-22, they have issued this report, and this is the report which I have downloaded, the report on the audit quality review. And the report on the audit quality review. Okay, this is audit quality review for which year? 21-22, right? And then they talk about the, right, the chairperson's desk, right? Then after that they talk about the approach, expectations, how we select the audit firm, how we conduct our audit quality review, the overall trend, then the summary of the observations and the key takeaways, right? So now here we see the members of the QRB, the Quality Review Board, right? So you have the nominees of the central government, right? You have the chairperson, the advocate, Supreme Court of India. You have the joint secretary of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. You have the chief general manager of the SEBI. You have the director general of the C&AG and the ex-president of the ICSI member, right? So these are the members of the Quality Review Board. Are you able to follow that, everyone? Right, then the nominees of the Council of ICAI. So which council members are there on the board, right? And then the special invitees, right? So who are the special invitees and who is the secretary to the Quality Review Board? Okay, right. Then after that it says the quality review, right? Reviewed on all aspects of how an audit was performed in case of the entity selected for the review. So how they are maintaining the audit quality, and again how we select the audit firm, right? So how the audit firms are selected for the quality review. What did I say? Here they are called as the AFUR, the audit firm under review. Right, here we had the 2022, 2023, 5 or more partner, 4 or more partner, 3 or more partner. Now here we need to see how the audit firms are selected. Right, so across all the firms in India, they select a few firms, and out of that few firms, they select a few audits. Out of that few firms, they select a few audits. And then what does it say in 21-22? How we conduct the quality review. Right, how we conduct the quality review. And then this quality review is being done since 12-13 to 21-22. Right, so what are the observations which they are having since last so many years? Right, then the action taken. Right, so what are the actions which have been taken? Now coming to 21-22, what does it say in 21-22? How many audit firms were reviewed? 22 CA firms across India. Only for 22 firms they did the quality review. How those firms are selected? I will come to that. Okay, out of these 22 firms, how many audit files were selected? 24 audit files. Right, so probably 2 firms they selected 2 files, other firms they selected 1 file. Right, so 24 audit files were reviewed. How many entities were covered? 23. 1 listed, 1 public interest entity, and 21 private limited entities were covered. Right, so 1 listed, 1 other PIE. What is PIE? Public interest entity, and 21 private limited companies. So how many files were covered? 24. Now out of these 24 files, now what does it say? You could be having the material findings, you could be having the not so material finding, and you could be having findings which are very trivial. After doing the quality review, you might be having very serious non-compliances which you identify by the audit firm, or you find out some minor non-compliances, or you find out some non-compliances which are very trivial. Trivial means very immaterial, very immaterial. Right, so if you find out these serious non-compliances, then those matters have to be referred to the ICAI. So how many matters did they refer to the ICAI? 0 matters. Then how many cases an advisory was issued to the CA firm? 22 cases. And in 2 cases the matter was closed. Why it was closed? Because very trivial observations. Right, so 24 files were reviewed. Out of that, how many cases the reference was made to the ICAI? 0 cases. 22 cases an advisory. Okay, please improve. This is not the correct way. And 2 cases, it was insignificant. So that is why the matter was considered to be closed. Okay, in total, till today, right, how many cases have been referred to the, since 2012-13 till 21-22, how many cases have been referred to the ICAI? 35 cases. And how many cases advisory have been issued? 373 cases. And how many cases have been closed? 196. This is in total from 12-13 to 21-22. But if I look at the scenario of 21-22, was any matter referred to ICAI? 0. Then how many matters advisory was issued? 22. And for how many matters it was considered to be closed? For 2 matters. Okay. Then percentage of the reviewed audit forms. How many audit forms were there? 22. And how many audit files were picked up? 24. Percentage of the reviewed audit firm having observation on the standards on auditing. So what was found out? That 18% of the firms are not following with the right or SQC1. That 9 of the firms are not following SA 220. 5 of the firms are not following 250. Right, so the non-compliance with the auditing standard. That means the CAs are not doing the audit as per the standards on auditing. Then what does it say? Number of observations or totality. And in totality, the number of observations of the firm who have not checked the compliance with the accounting standards and the end accounting standards. So AS1, number of entities, 4 entities. AS9, 4 entities. Then in AS7, 13 entities. In AS24, 13 entities. And so non-compliance with the auditing standards, non-compliance with the accounting standards and the end accounting standards. Then after that it says the non-compliance with the other relevant laws and regulations. Okay, how many cases CARO reporting is not done properly? 26% of the cases. Schedule 3 non-compliances, they're in 52% of the cases. And other non-compliances, they're in 4% of the cases. Right, so non-compliance with the other laws and regulations. And these are the summary of the observations. What did you find out? Get the CA firm, SQC1. What should be there in the CA firm as per SQC1? There should be policies and procedures. Then there should be the EQCR review which should be done. Engagement Quality Control Reviewer review which should be done. Then what does it say? The responsibility for monitoring the system has to be given to the person with the appropriate experience for the role. Then at least annually a confirmation of the independence has to be taken from all the firm personnel. Then independence is also to be checked before you accept continue any client, and you also need to give the training programs for your employees. This is what is expected by the CA firm as per SQC1. And then what you found out, okay, they don't have the policies and procedures as per the quality control system. They don't have policies and procedures for human resources. They don't have policies for checking the staff competence capability. They don't monitor the engagement performance. They don't get the EQCR done. They don't maintain the quality. Are you understanding that? Okay. So what are the focus areas that they are talking about in the context of SQC1? There should be policies and procedures. Then EQCR fellow should be appointed. Then the responsibility for monitoring should be given to experienced and able person. Then independence should be checked annually. Then when you are accepting a client, again you should check for the independence, and you again need to check for the education and the training programs. Okay, so one question which is there in this chapter is important areas for evaluation in accordance with SQC1. Policies and procedures, engagement quality control reviewer, appropriate experience should be given the responsibility for monitoring, at least annually a confirmation of independence, then acceptance continuance of client, no change in the status of independence, and the education and the training program. Right, so same what we study in the quality review report. Same points are given over here for the important areas for evaluation in accordance with SQC1. Again, a question there in the question bank. Right, important areas for evaluation in accordance with SQC1. What are the areas? Policies and procedures. Then EQCR should be appointed. Then after that, the responsibility to monitor should be given to experienced and able person. Then at least annual confirmation of independence. Then no change in the status of the independence for acceptance continuance, and the education and the training programs. Okay, right. Then after that, what are the findings in this area? Right, then the findings for 250, that they did not obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence for laws and regulations which have a direct effect. Then what do they say? For 300, 315, 330, 320, 330, 402 and 450. Right? They did not cover the nature, timing and extent of the DSR. Then they did not consider the information regarding the acceptance continuance. Then audit evidence for the 500 series. So what were the findings? They did not obtain the confirmation for the related party, did not maintain the control over the confirmation request. Then they did not consider the purpose of the audit procedure. So if you look at this report also, you revise all the auditing standards. You understand? All the auditing standards which have not been complied by the firms. Then they talk about the 600 series, internal auditors, expert. Then they talk about the audit conclusions and the reporting, right? The audit conclusion. Then they talk about the accounting standards. So AS1, right? Then AS9, right? Then the AS15 and so Ind AS, operating segments. So first thing, are you able to identify that there is a difference between peer review and quality review? Peer review, we were not preparing a consolidated report. Each firm ka separate peer review done, separate peer review report, separate peer review certificate. Here, all the firms for whom the quality review is done by the quality review board, they prepare a consolidated report. And they give the observation that generally the CA firms are not following with this accounting standards. They are not checking compliance. They are not checking the compliance with the Schedule 3 requirement. They are also not checking doing the audit as per the auditing standards. You understand that? Okay, right? Then not disclosing, right? So that is all the accounting standards. Then the other relevant laws and regulations. Schedule 3, not using the correct nomenclature of PPE, not correctly classifying trade payables for MSME enterprises, right? So that is the Schedule 3 non-compliances. Then after the Schedule 3, the CARO, right? Not carrying out the sufficient procedures to check whether physically verified at the reasonable intervals, right? So all the points, not checking the wrong forum where the dispute is pending, they've mentioned, right? Under 7B, you know 7B? Disputed statutory due, the amount involved and the forum where the dispute is pending. Not reducing the amount already paid from the duty of excise duty not deposited. Not mentioning the complete names of the statute while reporting. So look at the observation, okay, auditors, what reporting you are doing under CARO? And these are the non-compliances which are happening while doing the reporting under the CARO, right? Then after that, the clause 412. What is 412? Not to express opinion where the substantial interest is involved, right? Not to express the opinion. So what are the key takeaways for the audit firm? Improve the implementation of SQC1. Prepare audit documentation on a timely basis. Then also have the audit strategy, audit plan, audit conclusion. And then number of observations, number and the percentage of the audit firm, right? So what does it say? How many observations are there for SQC1? 9. How many audit firms are having the observation? 4 firms. How many firms were reviewed? 22 in our example for 21-22. Out of that, how many firms are having an observation? 4 firms. Then for SA2, 20, 505 and all, right? Then after that, the accounting standards, right? So the number of entities having the observation. Then the Ind AS, right? Then the other laws and regulations. And then the meetings conducted of the quality review board. Then under the quality review board, they could be also having the quality review groups, right? And then the important terms being used over there. Right, so this is where we talk about the quality review. Now again for quality review, what we are going to talk about is the scope and objective of the quality review. Peer review, scope and objective we had discussed separately. But for quality review, scope and objective is discussed together, right? So what does it say? The scope and objective of the quality review. Which review are we talking about? Quality review. So first thing that they are going to check in the quality review is the audit quality. Right? First thing which is the objective of the quality review is the audit quality. Okay, whether the audits are being performed correctly or not in compliance with the statutory and the other regulatory requirement. Then they are not performed properly. That means there are the weaknesses and deficiencies as to how the audits were performed by the firm. Right, so what is the scope and objective? Audit quality. When will you say quality not good? When you find out there are deficiencies and weaknesses. And how will you identify the deficiencies and weaknesses? By selecting a few start audit and doing the quality review. You understand? In quality review, what is your scope and objective? To review the audit quality. That means you want to find out the weaknesses and deficiencies. For that you will select the statutory audit assignments, right? So only start audit. What is covered in the Quality review is only the stat audit. There, what does it say? All assurance services were included. Tax audit, internal audit. Even tax audit is an assurance service. Internal audit is also an assurance services. So in peer review, all assurance services were included. But in quality review, only the stat audit services are included. Are you understanding that? Okay. Right. Then what is the scope and objective? So when they are checking this audit quality, what are they going to do? They are going to check compliance again with the same three. With same three, technical, ethical and the professional standards. Then they are also going to check the compliance with the laws and regulation. They are also going to check the quality control system. So what are first 3 points? Audit quality, weaknesses and deficiencies, selected statutory audits. Then for those audits, what are they going to check? Compliance with the technical, ethical, professional standards, compliance with the laws and regulations, and the compliance with the system of the quality control. Whether the statutory auditor has complied with the technical, ethical, professional standards, whether the statutory auditor has complied with the laws and regulations, and whether the AFUR, do you know AFUR? The audit firm under review, whether it has implemented a system of the quality control. And whatever financial statements you've done the stat audit of, there should be no material misstatement of the assets and liabilities. And how will you come to know that? You need to check the working papers, the AFUR, the audit firm under review, their working papers of the selected audit file. Right, so that's the scope and objective of the quality review. First thing which has to hit your mind is what? Quality review means they talk about audit quality. When there will not be audit quality, when there are deficiencies and weaknesses. How will you come to know? By selecting a few audit. What will you check for those selected audit? Compliance with the technical, ethical and the professional standards. You will check the compliance with the laws and regulations. Also the implementation of the system of the quality control. That there is no material misstatement of the assets and liabilities. And again for that you need to check the working papers. Question not asked so far. Scope and objective of the quality review. Right, scope and objective of the quality review. Okay, right, let us also see the question, what is the difference between the peer review and the quality review? You can't write it point by point, so you write it para by para. Right, yes, page number 16.9, last line, last para over there. What is peer review? It is a review of the systems and procedures of the audit firm. Right, although sample audit files are inspected by the reviewer, it is done for testing the effectiveness of the systems and procedures. Its intention is not to find out the faults, but to develop the effective system. It is a kind of a mentoring process and it is a part of activities of the ICAI. Right, so in peer review, what are they checking? They are checking your review of the systems and procedures, the effectiveness of the systems and procedures. Then what does it say? The aim is not to find out the fault, but to develop the effective system. It is a kind of a mentoring process and it's one of the activity of the ICAI. In contrast, quality review is supposed to act as a deterrent. Deterrent means something which will stop you from not doing, something which will stop you from not doing the audit properly. That means it will help you to do the audit properly. It is constituted by the central government and it is independent of the ICAI. Under section 28A of the CA Act, the central government has the authority to constitute the QRB. QRB carries out the supervisory and the disciplinary action. A quality review normally pertains to one particular audit conducted by an audit firm. And main objective of quality review is to find out the errors or the inadequacies, and serious errors may also lead to the disciplinary action. We said no, how many matters are referred to the Council of ICAI, how many matters an advisory has been issued and in which cases it has been considered to be closed. Right, so better that we don't write this point answer point by point, but we write it by para. Question not asked so far. I don't know how come they are not asking this question. Because it's a good deal to ask this question, no? Peer review, quality review, it covers both. Right, so difference between the peer review and the quality review. Is it clear to all of you? Right, the difference between the peer review and the quality review. Okay, right, then did we discuss the scope and objective? Right, then again over you have the technical standards. Technical standards, same. Technical, ethical, professional standards, accounting standards, auditing standards, framework, guidelines and all. Right, so you have the technical standards under the quality review, just as you had the technical standards under the peer review. Okay, then you have the QRB. Do you remember PRB? Minimum 6 members, maximum 12 members. 50% should be council members. Other individuals of high integrity and reputation could also be appointed. Now here what does it say? Quality review board. The board comprises of chairperson and 10 other members. Right, so here it comprises of one chairperson and 10 other members. Chairperson and 5 members are nominated by the central government. Their chairperson had to be a member of the council of ICAI. Your chairperson and the 5 members are first nominated by the central government and remaining 5 members are nominated by the council of the ICAI. And 6 out of 11 members, including the central government, including the chairperson, are nominated by the central government, because I told you, quality review board is independent of ICAI. So here who will have the domination is the central government, and members are nominated from amongst the persons of eminence having experience in the field of law, economics, business, finance or the accountancy. Right, so that is where these members are selected. So here how many members? 11. Chairperson and 10 other members. 1 chairperson, 5 nominated by the central government and 5 nominated by the council, and the chairperson is also nominated by the central government. Right, there what we had, minimum 6 to maximum 12. Here it is fixed, chairperson plus 10 other members. Chairperson and 5 members to be nominated by CG and 5 to be nominated by the council. Okay, what are the functions of the QRB? Right, what are the functions of the QRB? To make recommendations to the council, to review the quality of the services provided by the member and to guide the members of the institute to improve the quality of services. Similar to the functions of the, I don't think you will know, but no harm in trying, no. NFRA. Right, very similar to the functions of the NFRA. They make recommendations to the central government. Here these guys, they make recommendations to the council. Right, then they review and monitor, they enforce the compliance with the auditing and accounting standards. Here they review the quality of the services provided by the members and they guide the members of the institute to improve the quality of the services. Right, so what does it say? Make recommendations, review the work and also guide the members to improve the quality of their work. Okay, then the powers of the QRB. They asked a case study from this one. Right, the powers of the QRB. So what are the powers of the QRB? They can evaluate and review the quality of the work. To review the work, they need a criteria. So they will lay down a criteria. Okay, when we can say you have done the good audit. Now they know that they can review the work. For that they have decided the criteria. Now they call for the information. If they do not receive the information from the member, right, or they do not receive the information from the company, QRB, they ask for information from the member, they asked for information from the company and they don't receive the information. What does it say? They can ask for the information from the institute. Right, where the QR board does not receive the information from any of the member of the institute, the board may request the institute to obtain the information from the member and furnish the same to the board. So QRB asked me for some information. I did not supply it to them. They will make a request to ICAI that, see, your member is not providing us the requested information. Please collect it and send it to us. You understand? Then the QRB is asking for certain information from the company and the company does not give the information. They can make a request to the central government and the Ministry of the Corporate Affairs for assisting in obtaining the information. Right, then can they take the assistance of the experts? Yes, so what they do, they can review the work. To review the work, they lay down the criteria. Then they call for the information. If member does not provide the information, they can request to ICAI. If company does not provide the information, they can make a request to the central government. Then finally they got the information. Now they say, we got the information but we don't know how to review. So you say, my God, dumb people. So now you take the expert. Now you invite the experts, and now the expert did the work for you. Expert did the work, and now what you will do? You will make the recommendations to the council. Right, so they did not do the work. They got the work done from the experts, and now they will make the recommendations to the council. So this is where the question was asked. Member is not providing the information, the company is not providing the information. Are you able to follow this, everyone? Constitution of QRB, functions of the QRB, and the powers of the QRB. What is their power? They can review the work. For that they can lay down the criteria. Then they will call for the information. What if member does not give information? Company does not give information. Then they invite the experts, and then they can make the recommendations to the council. Are you understanding that? Okay. Then coverage of services for the quality review. Right, so how you know? Okay, 22 firms were selected in 2021-22. So how those firms were selected? Right, so how the firms are selected? One, it depends upon the audits that you are doing. Second, it depends upon your audit firm. One, it depends upon the audits that you are doing. Second, it depends upon your audit firm. And third, there is a quality review cycle. What is the quality review cycle? Right, once in 3 years, once in 4 years, once in 5 years. If your firm is a firm with 20 or more partners, if your firm is a firm with 10 or less than 20, that means 10 to 19. And if your firm is a firm with less than 10 partners, that means up to 9 partners. Then what does it say? Quality review to be done at least once in 3 years, once in 4 years, and once in 5 years. 20 or more partners, then your firm quality review at least once in 3 years. 10 to 19 partners, once in every 4 years. And less than 10 partners, that means up to 9 partners, once in every 5 years. Okay. Now, once a particular firm is selected, of that firm, what does it say? Maximum how many audit engagements can be selected? 3. And of one partner, maximum how many audits can be selected? 1. So say PwC is selected. So maximum PwC ka how many audits can be picked up? 3. And each partner of PwC, maximum how many audits can be picked up? 1. But if there is any adverse finding, can they increase this limit of 3 and 1? Yes, then they can select more than one engagement and also of a particular engagement partner, and also could select more than 3 audit engagements. And it can also be done at more frequent interval. So once in 3 years, once in 4 years, once in 5 years. Are you understanding? Then once a firm is selected, what does it say? Maximum 3 audits can be accepted. Then after 3 audits can be accepted, what does it say? One partner, not more than 1 audit. But if in the previous quality review, if there have been the adverse findings, then can they select more than 3? Yes. Can they select more than 1 of a single partner? Yes. So again, they had asked an MCQ on this one. Right? Again, an MCQ was asked on this one. Okay, there was adverse finding in the previous audit. Then can they select more than 1? Of 1 partner? Yes. Then can they select more than 3 for the entire firm? Yes, if there is adverse finding. And if there is no adverse finding, then not more than 3 and not more than 1 of any single partner. Right? So that's the quality review cycle. Depending upon the entities that you are auditing, depending upon your audit firm. On your audit firm, they can select on the random basis. They can select upon the volume of work. They can select upon the sectors that may be identified. Okay, say you are doing the audit of the real estate sectors where there is high risk. Right? So again, you are doing the audits of such sectors where there is the high risk. Or you are doing the audits of the startups, valuation companies, edtech companies. So again, there is a high risk. And again, on account of the fraud or the likelihood of the fraud. So based on the audit firm, that's how they can select on a random basis based on the volume of work, sectors identified as high risk, or on account of the fraud or the likelihood of the fraud. And then what does it say? Based on the entities that you are auditing. Based on the entities that you are auditing, that means you are doing an audit of an entity, right, which is a, part of a sector where there is susceptibility of risk based on the market intelligence report, or there is reported fraud or likelihood of fraud. If there is fraud, obviously that means there is a serious accounting irregularity. Obviously then there would also be major non-compliances. Look at the first line over there, very important. Entities other than those specified by NAFRA. So one, can NAFRA directly make a reference to the QRB? Can this CA form do quality review? Yes, then those though have to be covered under quality review. But other than those, where reference is not made by the NAFRA, they would be selected on the following criteria. So if NAFRA has said, this firm please do their quality review, will that firm be selected for quality review? 100% yes. But where reference is not made by the NAFRA, then it will be selected based on the sectors. It will be in joint audit. Can they do the, quality review of all the joint auditors? Yes, all joint auditors may also be reviewed. Then in peer review, could a complaint be received, or could a request be received from the member of, from the client also? In peer review, could a request be received for conducting the peer review from the client also? Yes. Here what does it say? The request for getting the quality review can be received from the RBI, SEBI, IRDA, MCA or the NFRA. That means for the regulatory body. But can your client request that please do a quality review of our firm? No, client cannot request. It will not consider the complaints received from the individual firm, companies, directors, officers, who shall continue to be dealt with in accordance with the mechanism available under the CA Act. So here what does it say? The request can be received from the regulatory body. So can RBI say, can this CA firm please do quality review? Yes. Can SEBI say, this CA firm do quality review? Yes. Can NFRA say? NFRA so yes only. That's covered in the first point only. That regulatory body. But can any individual or any client or anybody say that this CA firm do quality review? No. It is only there for the regulatory body. And again, these firms may be selected on the random sampling method. Are you understanding that? Right. So that's regarding the coverage of services for the quality review, depending upon the entities that you're auditing, depending upon your audit firm, and you have the quality review cycle, right? And you have the quality review cycle, right? So we take a break, then complete with the quality review, and then come to the 402, 710 and the 720. Okay.